Well, the Big 12 can have a formal announcement on 4 new members by the end of next week. That's how fast all of this is moving, and the reporting was moving very fast yesterday. We'll get you all caught up to speed on what's happened in the last 24 hours here in this video. Welcome in. I am John Kurtz. I am not in my typical home where I bring you these videos. I am on the road in Arlington, getting ready for K-State and Stanford at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys today. I'll be covering that game, so it should be fun. It's forced me to get a little creative here on the road. I don't have the nice fancy camera, so if this disappoints you that you're not looking at me as crystal clear as you typically would, I am sorry. I know that's a tough one to take. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I talk college football every day on this channel. Right now that means conference realignment every day on this channel. So I try to give the Big 12 a voice at a time when they do not have one nationally. So there are a number of reports that I've kind of aggregated here to get you up to speed on what's gone on. It was first Sports Illustrated that reported that invitations could actually be extended and applications could be received all by the end of next week from the 4 schools, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU, that had been at the Big 12's top of their list. But we also had some stories from The Athletic and the Action Network that gave some other details. So here is a rundown of what happened. It starts, I'm going to read from the Athletic story. The Big 12 is moving closer towards finalizing expansion plans to invite BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. The 4 schools are planning to individually submit formal applications to the Big 12 early next week. Once the Big 12 receives those applications, the conference's board of directors is expected to meet and extend formal invitations to each of those schools. And according to sources, all 4 schools are expected to accept those invitations. So despite what you might hear from Andre Ware, a too proud Houston alum, on ESPN broadcasts, it does not seem like Houston or any of these schools are going to wait out for Pac-12 invitations, ACC invites if you're over at UCF. It sounds like they're going to be a done deal to the Big 12. Now, according to Big 12 bylaws, a supermajority vote of 80% of the league's board of directors is required to admit the new members. Sources told The Athletic that the targeted schools have the necessary votes for admission and the process is considered a formality. And here's the quote from a source. It says, quote, "We wouldn't have gotten this far if they didn't have the votes." So again, some comfort there that these schools are going to accept. The Big 12 was in fact worthy of these AAC schools coming to join up with, which was something that was very frustrating for a while, right? And I said it on Twitter, and I didn't mean to demean anybody with this, but it got very annoying for a while. Like this Mike Oresco, the AAC commissioner, he's moving in silence, and that means something because he's been silent, that they're plotting and scheming. Look, I think what happened is we know ESPN was involved there trying to give them to take some schools from the Big 12 to blow up the Big 12. So you had some ESPN reporting like Heather Dinich, like, hey, watch out, the AAC is going to be aggressive. I think that probably got a lot of people's hopes up as it was all kind of wrapped into ESPN's plot and scheme to get rid of the Big 12. Now, as far as a specific timeline on this, multiple sources told The Athletic that the conference is working to get this done in September, and the new schools could be invited as early as September 10th, which is 6 days from right now, so again, within the next week. But one Big 12 source did caution this process is still highly fluid and that extending invitations by next Friday would be an aggressive timeline, though not an impossible one. Well, everything right now is moving toward the direction of being incredibly aggressive. I mean, Bob Bowlesby was already meeting with these schools on campus by the time the reporting was even out there that they were at the top of the list. Like, this has come together very quickly, so if it continues on that timeline, yeah, you can definitely believe within the next week it would happen. And let's take a second to appreciate that aggressiveness because the Big 12 always gets hit for not being proactive enough, not being aggressive enough, whether it was 2016 in expansion, whatever it may be. And this is one scenario where the Big 12 has actually done that. And those scenarios need to be celebrated because everybody always wants to make fun of the other side, right? But now Bob Bowlesby went out and did what I think everybody wanted him to do, which was be aggressive with expansion. I don't know how many times I saw that comment in videos here on this channel, right? So it is actually happened. And the other part of this is I think Bob Bowlesby had to be feeling some pressure because clearly schools are not going to be happy when this happens with Texas and Oklahoma, right? And, well, Bowlesby I don't think should shoulder the blame for a lot of that. I don't think he was going to do anything to keep them around. You still had members that were like, all right, is Bowlesby the guy? We read that in the Athletic reporting that there were some mixed feelings in the Big 12 about that. And then Oliver Luck gets brought in as a consultant, a guy who was almost the Pac-12 commissioner not long ago. So there had to be a fire really lit under Bowlesby, feeling like I've got to do something and I have to be aggressive or else I'm going to be out and it'll be Oliver Luck that's leading this conference. So I think that's another element, too, of why you've seen this move so fast. look, if you're a school right now that thinks you still have options in the Big 12, if you're Oklahoma State, if you're Kansas, these schools that we've heard about that really do feel like, hey, we may have a chance down the line as some other bigger conference, whether or not I disagree with you on that front, if that's your stance, this still helps you out in the short term, just creating a stronger league, and it makes your backup plan stronger. You know, if you think about it like applying to schools, it just upgrades your backup school, okay? So I think there's a lot of reason to believe that there is unity, at least right now. Until any kind of contract is signed for a grant of rights beyond 2025, I don't see any reason why everybody in the league shouldn't be on board with this at the moment. Now the next question becomes, okay, John, well, when is this going to happen? When will K-State be taking on BYU? When will I be watching Kansas go play Houston? It's a good question, and I'm not sure anybody really knows right now, but this is what the reporting would tell us. A source at one prospective Big 12 school believes 4 new members could potentially join in time for the 2023 football season. The AAC requires a 27-month notification and $10 million exit fee upon leaving. So if the schools gave notice this month, that would allow them to leave in December of 2023 if there's no negotiation on the AAC's part. And everybody has always mentioned UConn was able to negotiate that down for some more money. I have a hard time believing the AAC is going to be as nice in this scenario because this is really going to hurt their conference. Source, though, does say that there's hope the 3 schools could negotiate an exit plan with the AAC that allows them to join the Big 12 for the start of the 2023-24 academic year. So I guess there is hope in the Big 12 that they could at least expedite that timeline a little bit. Brett McMurphy had this to say from the Action Network on BYU. He says his sources tell him it's possible BYU could join the Big 12 as early as 2022, so next season, and then the 3 AAC teams would come later. They might have to wait a year or two to get into the Big 12, which is an interesting scenario in a lot of ways because Texas and Oklahoma, you'd figure, would still be around then next year. As of right now, we've seen no indication that anything is going to expedite that timeline, at least at the moment. So that could be very interesting logistically, how exactly you work that out. Says bringing them in for the 2023 season would help ensure that the Big 12 does not drop to 8 members in case Texas and Oklahoma do give notice later this year and plan to join the SEC in the summer of 2023. So the Big 12 does not want to go through a period where they're an 18 conference. That's really the bottom line here and a part of why they've been so aggressive in adding teams. And I'll add this at the end of the video. If you're a fan of one of these schools, SMU, Memphis, etc., that didn't actually make it into the league, didn't make the cut in the top 4, I don't know if this makes you feel better or worse, but you were close. Because according to Brett McMurphy, there were only 8 schools considered, obviously the 4 that are in, and then these 4, SMU, USF, Boise State, and Memphis. Those were the next 4 considered by the Big 12, just didn't quite make the cut. What I would say there is, hey, we've seen the Pete Thamel plan where you go big and go to 16 teams. That could happen eventually still. I think the idea right now would be that the Big 12 is going to add these 4, get to 12, restabilize, check out the landscape, see what's happening with streaming and what could happen with the next TV deal, and go from there. But I wouldn't put it totally out of the question that one of those schools wouldn't get an invite on down the road. It's tough right now, and believe me, being a Big 8, irate 8 school, I certainly understand the plight that you're going through right now. But there's where everything stands as far as Big 12 expansion is concerned. I have a lot of other thoughts. There are some other very interesting details. I'll get videos to you over the next couple of days. It's going to be mixed in with some football talk as everything is happening very fast right now. But please follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz. You can follow me on TikTok, John Kurtz Show, on Instagram, John Kurtz Show as well. And all that info is in the description of this video. All right, take care, guys. Enjoy the football Saturday, and I will talk to you soon.